Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's live broadcast of Speaking the Truth About Money with Martin Coward and Joy the Wise Woman. I am both Martin Coward and Joy the Wise Woman. Martin is my human name, and Joy the Wise Woman is my spiritual name. As you know, we're all fully human and fully spiritual, so I have a name for both of myself. And I'm so excited today because I have a friend of mine and the newest member of the Financial Heart Space team, work team. His name is Andy Triks. Andy Triks is a African gay man who is currently living in Nairobi. He was living in the Kakuma refugee camp, and he's now living in Nairobi, working with me and Abba and the rest of our Financial Heart Space team. So I wanted to and we're also celebrating his birthday today. Today is his birthday. What birthday number are you, Andy? What is this? What is this number today? What's your birthday number?
28.
You are 28. So Andy is 28 years young today, and we're celebrating his birthday. We're celebrating him. And I wanted to take this opportunity today to let the world know about the life, what it looks like to be a gay African in the world today. And he's got a pretty typical story. And I want to start, Andy, with you telling us a little bit about what life was like when you were a little boy, before gay was even anything in your mind. Maybe you were a little bit different, but where did you grow up? And tell us, we're gonna tell your story in different parts. We're going to start out with where you were as a little boy. Where did you grow up? What did you enjoy doing? What was life like for you as an innocent, young, happy African boy growing up in Africa? And then I want to talk a little bit about coming out, and then what happened that made you have to leave your country, and then going into the camp and going into refuge and going into becoming an asylum seeker. And then finally, what happened to get you where you are today? So let's start with Andy as a little boy. Where did you grow up? What kind of town was it? What did you enjoy doing for fun? What was your family like? Give us a little insight into what it was like as a young boy growing up in Africa as Andy Triks. And where were you?
Thank you. Uh, I'm Andy Triks, as my coach said. Um, I was born on 15th July 1994, today. So it's my birthday, and I'm celebrating years 28. Um, I grew up in Kampala, that is in Makindye, in a parish called Lokuli, um, and in a village called Chintu, that is in a city, Kampala Central Division. Um, I grew up with my uncle. Yeah, he raised me. That's when I was 8 years. That came in when my mom died when I was 8. I grew up in a humble background, but yeah, he could try. He actually managed to, you know, to put what's needed on the table so that we grow. Yeah. I finished my primary, that it was in 2010, joined secondary, finished my high school in 2016, then joined institute, that is YMCA, Wandegea, it's also in Kampala, pursuing a diploma in computer science.
Kampala is in the country of Uganda, correct?
Sorry?
Kampala is in the country of Uganda. Is that correct?
Yes, that's the capital city of Uganda, Kampala.
Okay, and so you were a little boy, and your mother died when you were around 8 years old, and your uncle raised you. Um, Tell me before we get to high school and tell me, what did Andy love to do most when you were a little boy? What did you enjoy as an 8-year-old, 9-year-old, carefree little boy growing up in Uganda with your uncle? What did you love to do the most?
Well, as a boy, I used to like to play with friends. That's football. I used to be with friends with just playing football. I loved soccer.
Uh-huh. So as a little
Yeah.
boy, you grew up with your uncle in Uganda, and you loved to play soccer with your friends. That was a pretty happy life for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and then you went off to college. You went off to school to study computer science. You said.
Yep.
Yeah, so take it up from there. I just wanted to go back and just get a sense of what it was like for you as a little boy, as a young boy. So now you're at university. You're studying computer science. Is that correct?
Yes, I went to institute actually. Yeah,
Uh
it's an
huh.
institute. Yeah, pursuing a diploma in computer science.
Uh huh.
Yeah, that was in 2018.
Okay.
I studied a 1 year and a half. That's from where the misfortunes came and I couldn't finish because that was my last year at campus.
And
And
so
then,
what happened that made it where you couldn't finish college?
yeah, the misfortune, that's when I came out and to be discovered that I'm gay and, you know, my family couldn't withstand that. And so I had to leave my home and my home country to look for safety. And that's where I found myself in Kenya. And that's where I'm living today. I've been
Hmm.
here for good 3 years.
So
Yeah.
you had to escape. You were in college, and you were doing pretty well, and then you came out as a gay man because that's who you are, and your family didn't accept you. And actually, there are laws on the book in Uganda that if you get caught being gay, they can actually put you to death. And so you must have been in a good bit of fear at that time. Tell me a little
Because,
bit. Tell me a little bit about what was going on inside you when you realized that you had to leave your country. You had to leave what you knew and any friends and any family you had because they just didn't accept you as a human being because you're gay, and you had to leave to go to a foreign country. What was that like for you in that moment? Talk a little bit about the internal conflict you were going through.
well, that's a moment of being traumatized because, yeah, waking up whereby you are not free, not feeling safe to be where you've been growing up, where you grew up, and trying to look for safety somewhere else. It's something that never came to be in my mind. That's never something that I never thought it would be. So it was so traumatizing. It's always
Yeah.
me
Well,
tense. Yeah.
we don't want to re-traumatize you through that again. I just wanted to get a little flavor. That's enough. Okay. You don't need to be re-traumatized by a pretty traumatizing event as still a pretty young man. A college age man is still pretty young and pretty. So you left you left when you were in college. I guess you were left. And you took off for Kenya because what made you decide to go to Kenya?
Yeah, to start up in your life.
Hmm. And you knew Kenya was a place of refuge for gay people seeking asylum. Is that why you why you chose Kenya?
Well, not actually like that, but yeah, I looked at keeping a low profile. So I just tried to see, I thought that maybe it would be safer than because there would be no one knowing me, who I am. So I was
Okay.
like, this could be somewhere I can be.
So you arrive in Kenya. Did you arrive in Nairobi? Tell me a little bit about that travel, about that move, that the early days of when you actually left Uganda and you went to Kenya and by yourself. Did you have anybody? Were you traveling with anyone, or were you by yourself?
I had to travel me by myself because, yeah, I was moving for myself. Yeah,
Yeah, that must have been
uh,
kind of scary for you, I would imagine.
so scary, so
Yeah,
much.
yeah, I can imagine. So, when you got to Kenya, what did you find? Were you in Nairobi? Were you in when you got to when you arrived in Kenya? What did you what did you find in Kenya?
So, me reaching to Kenya, yeah, I had to figure out how I going to sustain myself. Yeah. So
Hmm.
when I reached in Kenya, I first stayed for some days. My mind, because I had run out of funds, because my friend had given me some little funds. When money started to getting over, I was like, how am I gonna start my own in a country where I don't know anyone? With that in mind, I began to look for a job. Looking for a job, I found out that I cannot get a job. Whereby in Kenya, when you are to get unemployment, you have to have a working permit, which I didn't have. So getting a job where I had even got a place where I can work, but they told me, "Do you have a working permit?" I was like, "I don't have that." They're like, "Then we cannot offer you a job. It's and it's not how things work here in Kenya." So I told them then I'm from Uganda, but I cannot go back there. So I'm just trying to start a new life here. So the manager of the place gave me some advice. They're like, you know what? Then you go and register as a refugee, then maybe there you can be helped. That's where I became to start seeking asylum in order to get myself a way I can sustain myself. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so you went to speak with the and you registered as a refugee, and then what happened?
Ah, registering as a refugee, things still, it wasn't golden. Whereby, registering, I was told that I need to go to the camp because they no longer allow refugees to be in urban centers. So whenever they register you, you have to go to the camp.
Okay, so you go to the camp, and what? Tell us a little bit about your first day arriving at the camp. How did you get there? Did you get there on a bus? How did you tell us? Give us a little bit of a picture of you arriving at this camp in the middle of about 500 kilometers from Nairobi. Tell us a little bit about that arrival, that a moment of arrival in this camp. What was that like?
Well, it was also scary because actually it's UN that takes the refugees to the camp. When you register, you get a movement pass. It's itself to take you to the camp.
Mm-hmm.
So I arrived there in the camp, so exhausted because it took us 2 days to reach the camp. Yeah, it was a different environment, so different because it's more like a desert, and the people itself, the environment you look at, there's no buildings. You are kind of like you start to imagine life. You left the city to somewhere not even equal to the village, but somewhere amidst a desert. You know, the body itself, you don't feel it. That how am I gonna stay in this environment?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I guess they process you in some way. Do they give you your own hut with a key, or how do you find your own? Where do you lay your mat at night? How did you find your first place to go to sleep at night?
Well, when they take you to the camp, you first reach the reception. Then from the reception, that's where they relocate you to the camp to start living with other refugees. They give you a shelter and a mat, and then a blanket and some utensils to use to start up. Actually, it is starting up in your life there. They build for
Mm-hmm.
you a shelter, a simple shelter, which you will need to rebuild to get something like strong because it's made out tarpaulin, then the rooftop. So you need to make some more changes to be somehow secure. Yeah.
So they give you a basic lean-to tent, so to speak, made out of plastic to give you some shelter from the sun in the middle of a desert, and tell you to give you a few tools and tell you to go start making a life for yourself, but you can't go to work. Oh my
Well,
God. That must have been pretty scary. What was it like when you first met your first gay friend?
that story.
How did you find your first? You're a gay man in a refugee camp with hundreds of thousands of people actually, and you know Africa, you know most of those people are not very gay friendly. So
Yeah.
what did that feel like as not knowing any other gay men or even if other gay men existed in the camp? What did it feel like being knowing that you were out of your own country because you're gay? Now you're in a camp full of other refugees, many of which you know don't like gay people.
Yeah, well, when we reached in reception, yeah, I got to know some other refugees, and when they are also from Uganda, so I befriended them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that made a bit easier for me because they also had a profile, LGBT profile.
So and that's kind of what understood. If you're in the camp from Uganda, it's pretty well understood that if you're from Uganda, it's a good possibility you could be there because you're LGBTQ. Is that what you're saying?
Actually, that's what in the whenever you are like you speak Luganda, they're just like, yeah, that one is an LGBT. Or is, yeah.
Wow, wow. That has to be pretty scary. But at least you know where you're going to find your people, right? Tell me a little.
Yeah.
Did you? I know that now you're. I don't want to get too far ahead, but when did you meet Abba Henry? Did you know Abba Henry in the camp? I know he arrived. You got there in about 2019. I think he arrived in 2019. When did you guys meet in the camp? Did you meet, or did
Well,
you meet in the camp?
I met Abba in the camp. Actually, he came in the camp before me. I found them there. They had
Uh-huh.
already, yeah, but for them, they were still in reception. So we got to know each other in the reception.
Oh, he was working in reception at that time.
Um, nope. Yeah, he was an outreach. Yeah.
Yeah, he was somebody. So
Mm.
tell me a little bit about meeting Abba, and or meeting any other friends. What was that like? Trying to meet friends, people that you could trust that would help you out there in that camp.
Well, whenever they bring people, like they try to a section there, like this is a section for this kind of people, this is section for this kind of people. So when they brought like LGBT people, they always put them to where they belong, so that you can socialize with people that you can be free to,
Mhm.
socialize. That's where I get to know some more people who I can feel free to be with.
And feel protected, right? Because you need each other to protect each other from the people around you who maybe not be quite so friendly to gay men.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Did you ever personally have anybody attack you or or bully you or hurt you while you were in the camp?
Many times that's when I was relocated into the community because we first stayed in the reception for like 3 months, and then after that period, they took us into the world. Actually, let me say like that. So that's when they gave you a shelter to start your own life. Then it's all up to you. That's when misery began.
That's
I
when
call it.
misery.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's misery, and we don't want to go too much into it because it's pretty miserable. People do attack you, and they do try to. I mean, I know I've heard stories of actually young people being set on fire, and I know my friend Shushu was actually people threw gas on him and set him on fire, and there's just all kinds of really horrible ways of homophobic gangs who really like to torture and to hurt gay men like yourself.
Yeah. It's really hard for to stay in the camp because we tried to we thought that when we if we could group up, maybe we can get something a strong force so from attacks, but that's where they targeted us more. Yeah, so always they attacked us. Actually, I was the first place which I was relocated. I had to move. I have to leave that place. so that I can be somewhere where nobody knows me or someone I know, just for my safety.
Hmm.
Because there were a lot of attacks. Because one day I totally lost life because people attacked our neighbor. I tried to go out to see because that was the first day when I was relocated to the community. I went out to see what's up. The man was already at my doorway. He just put a pang on my neck. He was like, "Bro, if you want to be a star alive, just go back, switch off the light, and lock the door." It was so traumatizing. I had to go back to leave all what is taking place to my neighbor to live and sleep.
Mm.
That moment made me to leave that area. Yeah,
Wow. I'm
to
so
some.
sorry. I'm so sorry. I know it's and probably just having to talk about it again is painful. So we're gonna move on from. I think we've given people a good understanding of just really how painful and how scary it is for a young gay person to be in this camp in the middle of the desert without very much protection. So let's go forward now to today. How did you get out of that camp? Tell us a little bit of the story. What happened that got you? Now you're living in Nairobi and you're working with me. How did you get from being in the camp? What transformed? What happened? What experience happened that now got you out of that camp into Nairobi and working in a safe place, employed? Tell us a little bit about that story from your perspective. What happened?
Well, it's all about making friends. Everyone who has a capability, he can leave the camp to come to Nairobi, but still it's restricted. It's not allowed because refugees are not allowed to leave the camp to Nairobi, but still there are provisions whereby, due to safety or education or other issues, they can allow you. So I had a friend of mine who was in the camp, and for him is Nairobi. So he invited me to come to pay a visit. So I had to travel from the camp then to Nairobi.
Mm-hmm.
I stayed with him. Being with you here, it all came when Paul shared me a link to join a 5-day workshop. That's when I began to interact with you.
Oh, so yeah, I remember you were one of the people who attended my 5-day workshop, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Paul, who also works for me, told you about a workshop that I had, and you attended that workshop, which I remember you being there, very much so. And then what happened? So you attended the workshop, and what did you get from? What did you learn in the workshop? And then keep telling. That's a great story. So now, then what happened?
Well, after the 5 days, we went to for another was it 3 days, and
Right.
that's when you told us you have a program whereby you want to connect the African side to the Western side. You
Mm-hmm.
know, yeah. My journey to join the heart space, it was I scheduled a meeting with you. I don't know if you remember. I had requested a well wisher some help. We always survive on well wishers help. So it was like Andy. It was on LinkedIn. I requested help from and then she was like, "Oh, I'm seeing your profile. You are like working with the step up. I want to meet your boss." I was like, okay. Now I'm seeing Martin. He has a nice program. Let me see if I can book you a space and then you talk with him. So when I booked a meeting with you first so that I can connect you with that person, you just told me, Andy, you know what? Can you reserve your energy because I have something cool for you? What I can advise you, just go have a dinner with Abba, just like that. Just go have a dinner with Abba. I'm not gonna be able to talk with that person. Just go and have a supper with Abba. I was like, okay, let me go meet Abba. And then that's where things changed. Yeah.
You met Ava, who is now my business partner and my virtual assistant. And tell me a little bit about that dinner with Abba. That's very it's the first time I knew about the dinner with Abba. So you met with Abba, and tell me a little bit more about that dinner. That's interesting.
Well, I met Abba. I tried to talk to him. I was like, Martin told me to come to have a supper with you, and he was like, he wants to find a way to see how I can be in Nairobi because he asked me, Andre, are you in Nairobi? I was like, yes. And then he was like, we want to see how you can stay in Nairobi. Then Abba told me, well, we are working on that, and if things come in, then I'll be letting you know if there is some good news. So I'll be letting you know. I'll keep you in touch.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, after some following days, Abba told me, you know what, Andy? Martin told me you can just come and then try to learn with how I do things here. Then we shall see if we can get you something to do. But for a moment, you can come and just be here with me to see how I do things. I was like, okay, I would love to be part of that. So this is where we are.
Yes, this is where we are, dear. So Ava says, you know what? Just
Mhm.
come and be with me and learn what we're doing. Meet Martin, and let's see what happens. And I remember you showing up with such enthusiasm about learning social selling. And you started. I said, well, just watch what Paul and I are doing for a couple of weeks, and let's see what happens. And you're so good at it. You were a natural because you're a natural. It's all about human connection, and you're such a warm person that people want to know you. They want to connect with you, and you learned. And then I shortly thereafter that I offered you a position to come on as my second social seller. And tell me a little bit about what that felt like when I actually offered you a job with a salary.
Well, I remember that day. Yeah, I joined the hard space. We were like two people only, and then you're like, Andy, can you, since we are just here, me and you, can you just tell me a little bit about you? I tried to tell you my story, and then afterwards, when Abba came in, you're like, Abba, you know what? I'm gonna put Andy on the payroll. You know, that was a moment of joy. I felt I felt my joy burning through my heart. I was like, I had no way how I can, express it, but it was something great. It was just great news. Yeah, it was a moment it was a life changing moment.
And you were just coming on part time. And how much do I pay you?
Well, it's weekly,
Hmm.
$50.
And how
Yeah.
much is that? And and what's that done for your life to get $50 a week?
Well,
And now we're looking for new people for you to work for because you just work for me part time, which gives you plenty of room to work with maybe three or four other people. So you could make $200 a week if you had three more employers like me, right?
of course. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the game plan, dear. Is that start working for me, and you're working for me part time, a few hours a week, and now you've got getting better at getting better at being. And you're a really good social seller, by the way. You're very natural at it, and you've done a really great job of booking my calendar. And I think we're talking with somebody else next week, starting to build a relationship with someone else that might hire you. So tell us a little bit more about it, what it feels like on your end to realize you have some skills that people on the West from our side are willing to pay you for.
Well, here, let's say that my people, my fellow refugees in the camp, they are professionals and they are ready, but they find themselves unemployed, and this makes life so miserable. For me, I receive a weekly payment of $50. Well, it's not much, but to me, I feel like, yeah, this is a moment of changing life.
It's transformation.
Yeah, we always survive on well wishers assistance, and the rations, World Food Program cut off the rations. It's very little. You find yourself, you cannot survive on that. You know. But for me, when I think when I'm like, on Friday I'm getting some payment, I have something to hope on. It's so actually I call it hope because I'm like, I know I'm gonna get something at the end of the day. So
Mhm. And you're giving something at the end of the day. You're a very valuable person. And we're getting close to 30 minutes, but I want to give you a chance. We talk a lot about heart space. The name of the company is Heart Space, and we work in Heart Space. I want you to tell the world what it's like for you to live and work with me in Heart Space. What does that mean for you? And what is it like to live and work in Heart Space?
well, to live and work in hard space, this is a space where there is unconditional love. It is a space where uh you know a space where there is loving people, people who are free to work with, people who love you the way you are, considerate of what you are. And it's a space of healing, and it's a space of transformation to something good.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what I can say.
Mhm.
Yeah. You.
We were talking about the sense of feeling of worthiness, the sense of worthiness. Tell us a little bit about what you mean by being the feeling of unworthiness. Maybe you felt unworthy living in the camp. And maybe that's the difference. Maybe living in the camp is a feeling of unworthiness because no one wants, you don't feel worthy. And living in heart space, you feel worthy. Is that a distinction for you?
Well, the 5 days work, that's when I came, to learn about this, whereby, yeah, it's where it empowers us, whereby stop, you always emphasize on stop, you know, making yourself feel like you are unworthy, to change it into something whereby you are worthy to empower yourself.
Valuable, precious. You're precious, dear.
Thank you.
You are precious. Your life is precious. And I want to just give you a chance to speak out now to maybe your fellow LGBTQ brothers and sisters in Africa, in the camp and outside of the camp, who might be feeling those feelings of unworthiness, those feelings that you felt at one time. Um, Tell us a little bit about what that meant. What would you want to tell them if they're feeling hopeless and they want to get into a place of worthiness like you are? What do you want to tell them?
Well, what I can tell my fellow queer African refugees, it is it comes from your side.
Looks like somebody's trying to call you on your side. Maybe just let it go. Go ahead. Well, I was asking you to give some advice to your fellow LGBTQ Africans who are just all fellow LGBT Africans who are living in the harsh realities of the current African homophobic culture. What do you want to say to them to that would give them some hope?
Well, what I can tell my fellow queer refugees, yeah, at Heart Space, it's a space whereby it's a space of transformation, whereby you will come with a clear mindset, with a positive mindset. It relieves you from this feeling of feeling unworthy, not important to the society, to something, you know, positive. I
Hmm.
encourage you, wherever you are, when you are feeling unworthy, you feel like you're losing hope. Yeah, there is hope, because I'm a living testimony. My life has changed now, and I have hope for the future at this moment. So, anyone who's like feeling low, you know, reaching to the point of giving up, I think it's not the last option, because yeah, there's another chance for life.
Yes, there is. And I'm gonna give people a real specific thing that they can do. And you're a member of this. I have a Facebook group. It's called Financial Heart Space for LGBTQ plus business leaders and change agents. Every one of you is a business leader and a change agent. You are a change agent. You are here to effect change in the world for a better world. So if you are an LGBTQ African feeling hopeless, feeling like you don't have any place to go, there is a Facebook group for you that I run. It's called Financial Heart Space for LGBTQ plus business leaders and change agents. Join us. Join us, connect with us, get to know us. This is where we are a community to help you. And what we mean by that is that our mission is to connect LGBTQ people in Africa who don't have the financial means to take care of themselves with LGBTQ people on the free world who do have financial, not to give you money, not as a, but perhaps to hire you, get to know you, get to trust you, find out what wonderful, like I've gotten to know Andy, what powerful people they are and how much they can help you grow your business. Because I'll tell you something, you can teach people skills, you can teach people graphics, you can teach, but you can't teach people how to care. And what I have learned from working with LGBTQ Africans is how much they love and care for each other and how much they'll care for you in your business if you give them an opportunity to support you in your business. And that's what we're doing here in our world, in HeartSpace. We are connecting LGBTQ people around the world, people who, entrepreneurs, business owners who need people to work for them, not just people who can do virtual assistant jobs, who can do transactions, but people who actually believe in you and want to support you in your mission. Because those are the skills that you cannot teach somebody. They have to come with those skills. And every time I've met anyone from the African side, their heart is huge. And they have helped me move my business in ways that it has never moved before, largely because of the emotional support I get from them every single day. I meet with Andy and Alba and Paul, my team, every single morning between 6:30 and 9 o'clock to get in heart space and work together. And we are 10 times more productive, 10 times more creative. We have a lot of fun and we're creating a lot of success because we built these working, loving relationships. And that's what heart space is. It's about relationships first, people first. Then we'll talk about the transactions. Then we'll talk about hiring you. But first, we got to get to know, like, love, and trust each other. And I will tell you from my experience, I have learned my life is so much richer, so much more. It's actually wildly exciting since I have gotten to know my LGBTQ African siblings. And Andy is one of those people. So, Andy, I want to thank you so much for all the love and support you've given me in my business in the short months that you've worked with me. And as you know, I'm working right now to find other employers who would be qualified to have you work for them. Because quite frankly, I don't know that everybody on our side deserves someone as wonderful as you to work for them. You know, I mean, someone that the amount of love and the care you put in. When I had COVID last week and I wasn't able to work, you don't know how much it meant to me that you were holding my back and you were caring for me when I wasn't able to work. And that's priceless. That's priceless. And to have a team of support like that is priceless. So I just want to thank you so much for joining our team. I want to wish you happy birthday. And I want to tell the people out there to join me in wishing you a happy birthday. And please, whether you're on the eastern side or if you want to be part of this wonderful community of providing hope and opportunity for our people around the world, join us in my Facebook group, Financial Heart Space for LGBTQ plus business leaders and change agents. We'd love to have you there. And in the meantime, may love and prosperity prevail. Thank you so much for joining me today, Andy.
Thank you.